We are live. I just want to let whoever's watching this video know that all of our group members that could be here are here. So we have Christy and Julia. Julia is not on the screen, but you can hear her. So if you want to say hi, let everyone know you're present.
Hi.
Well, it's recording off your screen, so it should be.
Well, we're not all on the same screen.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
We had to call you in.
Yes.
But it's all good. We'll just roll with what we got. All right. So I feel like these things that we read were pretty interesting. I do like games, so I thought it was fun that there was a whole article on games. So we're going to start off by discussing, I'll ask a question and we can all kind of give our input in this. So what we want to list some of the positive results of the pilot program that was established. So if we wanted to say some of the things that benefited the bank because they implemented this program, and kind of just start throwing them out.
Gosh, hold on. I'm just pulling up the article one more time too. Are we talking about the games one right now?
So we're talking about specifically the article all about how the bank established that mentor program.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. I did like the games article though, but we're not talking about that.
I really did like that one. 2 seconds.
So you asked what was good by it? What
Yeah.
did they get from it?
So what were some of the positive results from this pilot program that they rolled out?
So I think it was the retention numbers went down, even though they never really specified how they went down and the fact of analytical work, like percentages or anything like that. So I would have liked to see more of that. But the feedback that they received was very positive. And so they had retention numbers go down and they had a lot more inclusion of the people feeling they were part of the company.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the participants had shared her thoughts, and I remember writing it down. I was just looking at my notes. It says, my mentoring experience made me feel more optimistic about my job and more positive about the bank as a whole. So I think the morale of the whole company went up because of it.
Yeah. I feel like companies that are focused on developing their employees see a lot more growth and success. And I think this program catered to that or encouraged that sort of culture.
Yeah.
So and like people felt loyal. They felt like, oh, these people care about me more than just I'm just a random number. I'm here to help grow and progress, and that will in turn help the entire bank as a whole progress.
Yeah.
So that was good. So then it wants us to talk about the reasons for the positive results in the pilot program. And these questions are worded kind of weird, so I'm trying to like decipher them for you.
Gosh, I think the reasoning again is all about the morale. I think it hit well because it made people invested, right? And their morale went up. And when people feel like they matter, they're giving you twice the work they did when they feel like they're just punching a time card and leaving your job, right? So I think that was a key to it, is not being a punch time card job anymore. They had a reason.
I think it also opened up the opportunities. I heard my feedback on my book and I thought it was someone else talking, so I stopped talking. So I think it helped also with them open up their eyes to the different opportunities within the company too, that they didn't know were there before.
Yeah, definitely. So we've talked about a few different things that resulted from the successes that this program brought. Do you think there's some that are more important than others? And if so, what specifics would those be?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? Part of you cut out, so I didn't hear the whole thing.
Yeah. So how did the reasons that we've just talked about or causes for the success relate into bringing success to the company? This is a weird question. So
yeah, that's weird, but I think it caused it by changing the company's look at things, right? So they changed this pilot program that then changed the whole company as a whole. Like we had mentioned, it really opened up that there was other opportunities for people they didn't even know about.
Yeah.
And I think it also gave the positive word of mouth to all the company, right? They started getting it around to everyone. There was something to look forward to in there, but.
No, I agree.
So do you think that these results are specific only to the bank, or do you think this would benefit other organizations as well?
I don't think it's specific to a bank.
Most organizations have, large organizations have mentoring programs. And so mentoring programs always do benefit. It always matters, of course, how the mentoring program is facilitated, but mentoring programs are great to have for any company.
I think mentoring programs are a necessity. Like again, I'm operations for a school district, so mentoring's huge. Like you got to mentor a first year teacher with a 10-year teacher, and that's not always positive, right? Because they could be stuck in their ways. But some of the mentoring's huge because it really does open up opportunities both ways. Like I've seen 10-year teachers take a ton from my first-year teachers as well that they didn't even think about. So I think the mentoring really is a two-way street, and it really does help both parties involved.
Yeah, definitely. And I like coming from a perspective of like you just barely entering, how awesome does it feel that they're like, hey, we want you to be great, so we're going to pair you up with someone that is great, and then you have a great relationship, helps build your network. I only see benefits from it. Well, I'm sure there are some drawbacks to it.
I think there's drawbacks, but I think that is a company's problem for the drawbacks. Like I've seen drawbacks. I've seen drawbacks when we pick the wrong person to mentor that person, right? Yeah. You got to pair personalities, and that takes, I think you have to get to know them before you stick a mentor on them right away, right? I got to know if that person's going to take advice from someone like that, right? Or who's a good fit for them, because I've seen sometimes it backfire and it becomes kind of a hostile event because they don't like being critiqued. So you have to figure out how you mentor. And I guess you need to train everyone how to mentor if they're going to mentor someone.
Sure. So I guess after seeing the success from the first round or first wave of doing this, why do you think less people signed up for the second round?
I think it's like anything.
Well, it wasn't advertised as much. They didn't do as much marketing.
Yeah.
They said in the article, the advertising group decided they could advertise less than they had for the pilot since they'd already had interest from people who were not accepted into the pilot, as well as positive word of mouth.
Yeah, that's what they thought. But
that's what they thought. But did it happen? No. And so I think it's like anything. We can put it back to the church. Like when we're in good times, sometimes we forget to really rely on our Heavenly Father, and so I feel like that happens in work too. When we're in a really good spot, we don't want to really push ourselves sometimes because we feel like we're already excelling, and that's when it really does start to fall apart. Because when we hit some rough patches or a need for support, we haven't set it up already.
Yeah, I think too that we understand and we all agree that mentoring programs are a necessity for a corporation, and they do need that. But how they roll it out, how they facilitate their mentoring programs is a big difference between companies of things that work and things that don't work. I don't necessarily agree with how they conducted and how they selected their mentor and mentees within this program, and I think that the turnout was partly because of marketing, but it was partly also because they didn't get a true feel of whether it was a true success. I mean, any mentoring program is a success in itself, but was it a true success, or can they do something differently to their program to make it better? Because when you have the respondents of less than half of your respondents actually give feedback at the end, that's not a good sign.
Yeah, that's true. Interesting to think about.
Yeah.
So
possibly they didn't have good turnout because it wasn't as true of a success as what they liked to think it was.
Yeah.
The mentoring program, great, keep that going, but maybe revamp it.
I agree. I think how they picked him was probably the downfall of it all. you can't. I don't think you can do it so blindly the way they did.
Yeah, it's hard when you start mixing algorithms with human beings.
Yeah,
That's where it gets a little tricky. I could see.
it works sometimes, not always.
Yeah. So I guess there's a really good question in this that kind of ties into this, so I'll say it now. So what other approaches or programs might have helped or developed their employees' careers, if any?
Like other approaches, not like the mentoring or what?
Yeah, so it says, I guess specifically what the question says is what other approaches or programs might help employees to develop their careers?
I think sometimes getting professional development clinics running are very helpful out there. I mean, they don't become stagnant and stuff.
You know, and doing more of those mentoring circles that they did as well. They can focus a little bit more on that. That seemed like it was just something that was thrown in there, but not something focused on. But those circles with those particular groups, I think would help.
I also liked, I think the bank did a decent job of this. I liked the fact that they really encouraged education, like developing yourself. I don't know if there's a way that they can channel that more. I think it's like, hey, we offer tuition assistance if you want to take advantage of it, but make that something more of a focus as well.
I think in professional development, that's what I was talking about. A lot of career areas offer like trainings to go through that's not even possibly tuition reimbursement, but sending them away for a week to go get that training done and making that reimbursable, right? And allowing so much time, like, you know, like in ours, it's a little different profession because I'm in education, but we cover their sub for a week, right? So they don't have to take their leave or anything. We're covering a week's worth of time for them to go to that professional development they need.
Right.
And they get to select it. It's not us selecting it for them because I think people have power in picking what they feel like they need at that point too.
Mm-hmm. So have any of us experienced a similar program to this? I'm pretty new into industry, so I haven't yet, but I'm curious if either of you have or had experience with it.
I use a mentoring program in our school. We have since I've started. We implemented it a couple of years ago. It's a necessity for us, but again, I've said really good positive things, and I've also seen, like, I have a teacher this year who's extremely hostile because she hates it. But she also, I don't know, got paired. I'm not sure she's a personality that can learn from other people, maybe. And maybe I should have looked more deeply into that before I paired her. I paired her because she's an older gal, but she had only been in the school system for 3 years. So she's really considered a 3-year teacher, where I had a younger gal that was probably more like 30 who had already been a 10-year teacher. So there's your difference. It's hard. Sometimes the age difference can cause a conflict, I've noticed, with a little bit of our ego involved. So
yeah, I've been involved in mentoring in the last, 3 corporations that I've been with. I've been a mentee and a mentor on both, and then I've also seen the program and the intricate work that is all involved in rolling out a program and all of that. I've seen some of the pros and cons from the different ones. The reading this, there's some things that I do like that they did, and then there's other things that I didn't, like their selection process. I would take from my last company that I was with. I really did like theirs. It wasn't so much a selection process. It was certain levels and above. It was part of their evaluation, their yearly evaluation, is whether they had mentees or not, whether they mentored. And depending on your level is how many mentors or mentees that you had to take under your belt. And so I actually liked that approach better because they're allowed a lot more mentors within the program than mentees. And so mentees were never turned away like what's in this program. And it wasn't as strenuous with who could be a mentee and who couldn't. I don't think there should be stipulations behind someone who wants development and who seeks development from someone else.
I agree there shouldn't be a turn away. The only problem I've ran into, and I know we all have a little different experiences, like we did include that too, same requirement, like it was an evaluation piece. But what I found happened is they would do it, but they'd do it pretty poor, right? Because they would click the dot, oh, I mentored someone, but they really wouldn't give them really high quality mentoring. I feel like sometimes you gotta we decided an incentive program. We gave like a kickback to people who did quality incenting, and we reached out to them as well. And if they'd take extra people on, I would give them a bonus couple days off or something in their program. Just because I feel like some people are not great mentees, right? They really don't know how to mentor someone yet. I think they still, even though their level was high enough in our teaching achievements, I would assume they should have mentored, but they really couldn't mentor for whatever reason.
Yeah, and I think that's why it was integrated into our program. So HR oversaw.
Perfect, yeah.
And that's why I think it was integrated in that, you know, HR and a leader, HR sat with leaders to make sure that they were developed enough to be good mentors. You know, and then we had, of course, feedback sessions. You know, there was a bunch of different things that were involved in it, not just checking off the box.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a program like that works very well as long as HR is truly involved and oversees the whole process.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to dive in a little bit deeper into analyzing the program, which we've been talking pretty well about. But the first question to pose is, would a less formal mentoring program be even better, where mentees are free to find whatever mentor they need to help them progress in their careers, rather than being assigned to someone?
I personally like not assigning people. I know our groups, this year we took on that exact approach, and it's been more successful than I've ever had. I assigned one because no one would take her on, and again, it was unsuccessful. But maybe I shouldn't have assigned her one, right? Nobody wanted her at that point. But I had to do something. But I can tell you, finding someone I already link with was great. But you also have to play a fine line, because sometimes they don't give you hard enough critiquing to help progress me either for my employees. So you got to find someone who's not just your best buddy that's been in the company for 10 years, you know? And for us, the plus of this is that they didn't have to stay within my school district. I had tons of school districts outside, because you're all public education, who would mentor from different schools, which was great. So you got a different approach. So I have some teachers who get a mentor from a different district, and so they get to see what they're doing and bring it back into our school. So I like letting them pick.
Perfect. That's cool.
Yeah, I think I kind of answered that before.
Yeah. No.
Yeah,
definitely.
Absolutely. Less formal thing, but obviously with oversight from HR.
Sure. So I'm curious, what if there are those people out there that want to be mentors but are never chosen by the men to be a mentor? Curious how to kind of overcome that obstacle.
So I think it falls on both. So the mentee, you know, in the corporation I worked for, would reach out to someone typically in another pillar. They didn't want someone within their same pillar. A lot of times they reached out across the board to someone different. The mentee would reach out, and then it's up to the mentor, if nobody reached out to them, that they were to reach out and find the mentee themselves. We also had things that we had under our diversity. If how many people were you mentoring that were part of a diverse group as well.
Right.
So that's where they would, if they didn't know anyone personally, they would reach out to the different societies that we had within the corporation. You know, we had the Latino Society and things like that, and they would reach out to them, to their leaders, to see if there was someone they would recommend as an mentee. It's easier probably when you have a large company than smaller companies. So I would see where your question comes into play for smaller companies. You know, kind of like the last one to pick on the football team or something.
Right.
We're a small company. My group is, I have 25 employees right now that are full docket on our school, on our charter school right now. And I can tell you, my experience is because I have had people come to me pretty frustrated, and I've explained to them that they should probably not skip out on all the social events and all the things too. They have to do their part too, right? To mentor, you've got to get to know the people, and sometimes that's really hard if you're not attending any of the events to get to know the other employees, because that's how a lot of these people who are looking for mentors are going to look. Oh gosh, I love how they're interacting. I love what they're doing in the job, and it's a little too easier to approach sometimes outside the office place, in a more casual setting for some of these guys, I've noticed.
Yeah, that makes sense. I can see how that would be beneficial for sure. So I know we pretty much discussed this. I don't know if I've necessarily put my input on it, but one of the questions is what might have been improved in the Federal Reserve Bank program. So this program that they rolled out. For me personally, I do agree that the selection process was a little too robotic. I don't know if that's the right word, but I think there's a better way to approach that. I do think that making it more free for people to kind of fall where they feel most comfortable is great as well. Gives them a little bit more freedom. But then there are those people that do like the structure a little bit more. So
I have some people who love the structure. I don't know why, but they love it.
Yeah.
I feel strongly like you. I think that you can't put an algorithm on people. You cannot always okay, and I have a son who's he's autistic, and I explain to people, you have no idea what's going on in his head, right? Like, I have no idea how he's going to respond, but I said that's the best way to explain this. Like, you stick it into this thinking everyone's going to fit one box, and they're not. It's not always going to be the go from A to B to C to D, right?
Yeah.
And that's when this fails, because you think it is going to go A, B, C, D, and then it goes A to Z, then back to B, right? So that's where I really feel like they really failed in that aspect, is they thought that they could make a model. And again, I think that actually almost hampered the mentoring program, because you can't put a box like that if you want them to really learn to mentor from each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel where they can improve is obviously piggybacking off of what we've already discussed is the stipulations for it, but also they did not get a gauge of their retention and their retention numbers, and how many participants truly felt that the program benefited them, So I think coming out with a little bit more analytical things of percentages, and okay, you can tell me all you want that retention went down, but you need to show me some numbers. How did retention go down? And they didn't provide that. So I think they need to do that a little bit more. And then also the engagement, because the only numbers that I have to go off of is the respondents to the survey, and that was less than half, which isn't good. So we need to figure out why less than half are responding. What's the reason behind that? So I think they can improve it by digging deeper into that, and not just patting each other on the back and saying this was a good program.
Do you feel that they should, I guess I'm trying to, this is a question I have that I'm trying to get out right. Is it worth it if they're only having the smaller number of people? Do you think it's even worth the time or efforts, or do you think they should just scrap it and continue with what they're doing?
I think mentoring programs are always worth the effort.
Sure.
I think mentoring programs are great for any company and any size. And so I don't remember, how many people did it say that they had employed? Because going off that percentage and seeing, okay, this is how many we have employed, and we're only going to do 25 of them, depending on the size of the company, is whether they need to really make it a more robust program or not. And I think not having as much stipulations on it would allow them to expand the program larger.
They had approximately 2,000 employees.
Yeah, that's where it was. I know I read it here somewhere.
I did a search of the article real quick. Yeah, they had 2,000 employees, and I agree with you on that. I think mentoring is important, but I think playing the middle ground with very little is actually not going to help it. It probably will take from other areas that are really probably needing some help. At least I feel like you can't play like in 10. You guys all get this. We can't be in 10 areas and expect to do 100% in all 10 if we've only got so much time and money and effort to go into it. I think the company has to come back what's important to them. and start investing something into it if they want it to happen.
True.
Yeah. I think too, where they kind of went wrong is, what's the word I'm thinking of? Like giving prizes to the mentors, when I think that that's something that should be, depending on your level, part of your job, part of your role as a leader. I think with this, they did it probably more because not all of them were leaders, it sounds like. It was just people who had experience. So I understand their thinking behind giving prizes to people who mentored. But I think that they revamped the program and they did it to, as leaders being, with the experience, being the mentor, that should be part of their evaluation. It should not be something that's, oh, let me give you a gift card now because you were a mentor.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like a lot of, well, this might be a hasty generalization, but I could see some few people doing it just for that versus actually being committed to wanting the company or the bank to grow.
Yeah.
I think that's that hard part of the piece in the evaluation, right? Like, I know if it's in my eval, I'm going to work to do that piece, but I can also make it look good, and there's a difference between look good and actually want to help someone grow, right?
Yeah.
There's so much investment, and that is a really, really hard piece to conquer, but that's also picking the right people to help you with that.
Yeah. All right. So I guess looking forward, what could the company have done to get more applicants?
We kind of talked about that already with the stipulations, and I think maybe finding out what truly worked in the program and what didn't, because of the amount of respondents, there may be word of mouth that it was not positive. So maybe focusing in that area a little.
Yeah.
I think also what we had mentioned, but I also think is, gosh, you have to have an incentive program of some sort, right? I'm not going to put more on my plate if there's absolutely nothing for me, possibly, right? Not everyone's invested in every company we work for. Some of them are just punching a card, but we have to get them invested in to do that. I think sometimes the company needs to throw some effort into it too, by what are they going to give you? Not in a bad way, but do you go to work for free? No, I'm not working for free. So you can't go ask them to mentor for nothing either. There has to be some kind of kickback to them to want them to do a quality work, to continue doing it, because they don't have, a lot of them, especially if it's a, hey, do it by free pro bono, they don't want to do that. They want something out of it, right? They want you to recognize it in evaluation, or they want to get some kind of incentive to help their career. And so I think that's important. Yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah, you ride the fine line of doing it and for reasons. Yeah, it's tough.
It is tough, but I go back to, see, I'm a strong believer. I have 4 boys. I don't think that they do things for free. I just don't think so. We aren't doing it here as an adults for free either.
Yeah.
The world isn't about like, hey, go do it all. I mean, there is some lines that you do play both ways, but I'm not going to my job every day hoping that I'm just going to donate all my time to them either.
Good points. Okay, so do you think that they should expand this program, keep it small? What do you think would be more beneficial?
I think they're going to have to expand it, but they're going to have to expand it by taking stipulations off. Right now, it's not a successful program yet.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, so then how do they get more people without forcing them to be involved?
I think you can't do it in the eval. I wouldn't start ever like that, just because in my experience in our company, it hasn't worked like that. I think you got to give an incentive. Like, sometimes we host an event to bring them together, like, hey, my people who do evals, we're going to do a weekend thing, or there's got to be a kickback, right? Some kind of company party you can host for those people who are doing the evals that participate in that program for you. So I think you got to give some kind of, even if it's like, off the books, they get to have a big party. And I mean, I know we're all LDS, but for some of my groups, it's like they like their alcohol, right? And so some kind of event that they get to have, that free fun event for them. You have to find out what your market is, right? I don't know who I'm selling to yet, right? I don't know what they're looking at and what that market looks like until I was in there. Every area is different. I know one year they do like a free ski pass, and the people who mentor actually get to, everyone who was mentored, they get a vote on one mentor, because they get to see everyone else's mentor too, and they voted on one that was like super effective for everybody. And it was actually a really positive thing for us, because it made my mentors really go out there and want to get their season ski pass, because those run about $6,000.
Wow.
You know, so it's something I could get donated from our local area, and I could also get my teachers to really start mentoring other people and give up some of their extra time, because they don't have extra time on their plate a lot of the times.
Mm. So another question, this was an interesting one. How can they encourage people who really need mentoring to get mentoring?
That one's hard, because I have a gal this year that I wish would take some stinking mentoring before. And they don't always. I can tell you, like, she's not renewing a contract with us because she won't mentor, and she decided she's not a fit for us. So I think sometimes that mentoring weeds out the people who aren't ready to commit to your company.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're gonna have to figure out a way to come in, and all you can do is try. And at some point, it weeds out the people who aren't really ready to stick it out. And I think that's actually beneficial for the company, because I don't think if we had done it the other way, we could have been stuck with her maybe 2 or 3 years just getting subpar work, where this way she just got fed up with, having to take advice from other people.
Mm-hmm.
So I think someone who really needs mentoring, but we need to encourage them. I think that's where the leadership conversation comes when it comes to their performance evaluations as well. Written in there, next year, I really feel that you need to, and of course, nicer terms, I really feel you need a mentor, or even giving them a name of another leader that feel would be a great mentor for them. But if someone needs a mentor, then obviously they're not performing exactly like they should be in their job description. And so when the leader has their evaluation with them, encouraging them to reach out, get a mentor, and even setting up time that they can sit with someone to see if that relationship works.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that incentives for being mentored would work the same, or would that cause
I've yet to see it work the same, unfortunately. I don't know why. I can get them into, the one mentoring the people, that works, because they'll put out the extra effort. I think the people needing mentored, the problem is they don't feel like they always need it. Mm-hmm. They don't want to give the extra time on their plate, because, right, like I contract my teachers, they're all salary based. They don't want to give me an hour of their week to go meet with someone else. They want to use it in their classroom. And so, like I had one gal, the gal that's leaving, I get to field their complaints, and she was distraught that her evaluation was basic. And I thought that was generous to call it basic. And it's so hard, because you think, wow, so you see how you mentored all year, you see how you work as a team player, and you're upset you were a basic. Okay. And that is hard. I don't know. I don't think incentive works the same. I think having a successful mentoring program, though, brings those teachers who are struggling, who do need a mentor, to come turn to you for help. If they truly love what they're doing and they're failing at it, they're going to turn to you, the options that you set up in the school. Mm-hmm. A lot of times, having a strong mentoring program available is the key, but it has to be very successful, and it has to have the word of mouth that they trust that they're going to get help, and they're not feel like they're getting thrown under the bus, right? To the supervisors. And there has to be a degree of trust between that mentor and the mentoree, that's not going back to the supervisor every 5 minutes about what's going on. Mm-hmm. Some of that has to be a trust that they can go talk to someone and tell them what's going on. How do I get over this? What do I do? How to, grow from it.
To answer your question, I think that it matters the type of incentive.
Sure.
I don't agree with the incentive of, prizes per se, because especially as a leader, this is something they should be doing. And if it's something that they're not doing, then HR needs to spend a little bit more time with them to make sure that they understand and have the tools they need for understanding of what their true role is as a leader. I think that if we're going to do incentives, then it would be great to have it into their merit increase, which of course reflects off of their performance evaluations.
Yeah.
Leaders take on a different role as the leader. And if you're not willing to be a leader, then you shouldn't be a leader.
Mm-hmm. Good points. Okay, so the last question I feel like we've covered pretty well, but just to kind of wrap it up, in kind of one simple statement, what do you think they need to do next to improve this program?
They almost have to start over a little bit.
A little bit more information. They need to gather a little bit more data.
Sure.
You don't know if a program's working unless you have hard data, not little note cards from people saying that it was this, that, and the other, but actual data.
I think data is a key, and I also think anonymous data. You cannot make people sign their names to it.
Yeah.
I have people, if you have to sign your name, I'm not going to turn it in. I'm just not. If I ask someone to evaluate, like our director's evaluation comes in anonymous, so that everyone can truly say what they're feeling about, and without feeling that whatever they put on there is going to jeopardize their job.
Yeah.
And I think that's with anything. You have to make some kind of, like, whatever you put there is out there in a critiquing manner, in a positive. And you'll get some that are just going to say terrible things because they know they don't have to. But I feel like I get more honest answers when people are more willing to give it out there. And the ones that aren't worried about it will sign their name either way. And that's fine.
Yeah, anything that comes out from HR, whether it's engagement surveys or 360s, any of them should always be anonymous.
Well, that wraps up our conversation. We're right at about time anyway, so this kind of works out. I do want to say we've gotten instruction. Maybe we need to start working on our doohickey assignment earlier. I don't know if we want to. I mean, I haven't even
take the lead on the doohickey this time.
Yeah, that's a good question. I probably can.
I can't, just because I'm wrapping up this thing in these two big tournaments. I could take the next one if we need to. What about you, Spencer? Maybe you take a later one because you've already taken two of these leaders. What about you? Julia, can you take this one?
What about you? Are you talking about
Julia, can you take the lead on this doohickey by chance?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I travel a lot. I have a lot on my plate. But nope, definitely, I can do it. It's fine.
Okay, I think that if we go the Google Doc route, it was really useful.
Send out assignments.
Sorry, you both were talking at once.
Yeah,
Julia, go first.
I said, do you want me to actually assign and everything?
I think broad assignments, yeah, that's fine. As long as you do kind of what last time that I think if you start the paper and then we kind of like leave 2 sections to each person. I don't think we tell them what their sections are going to be per se, but yeah, we have to assign out pieces.
Like last time, everything was assigned. And so
right, we assigned off 2 pieces. I think that's a great way to go. Gives everyone their own freedom to put it what they want in it.
Yeah, I'm fine with it that way.
So as far as the 3 problems, I know we have recruiting and hiring, career development and training, motivation, and safety. Which 3 problems do you want to pull out of there?
I think safety should be one, personally, but I mean, I'm up for anything. I think that can be a little of your choice too, if you want to take what you felt like was really strong out there too. I don't know. I like safety for sure. What do you think, Spencer?
I liked the stuff that we've gone over this week. For formula like development,
career development.
Yeah, career development. I think that would benefit the Doohickey Corporation greatly.
That's true. So maybe safety, career development. What's the other one?
And safety. How does that sound?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. What did you say?
So we'll do the recruiting and hiring, career development and training, and safety.
Sounds great. Yeah.
Okay. So I will. I've never did a Google Doc, so maybe someone wants to send me a SOP on that.
Oh, I can walk you through it right now. It's so simple. You're gonna walk into your Google Doc Drive, and you're gonna open it from there. So you're gonna share it, and you're gonna put our emails after you start the document. I'll just pull one up really quick.
An SOP. So an SOP is like layman's terms. So when I go into, how do I go into my Google Docs Drive? So I log into.
You go to gmail.com, and the right-hand corner is your drive. Your right-hand corner. Click on your. So you're gonna click on. Hold on. It's so. I do this every day, but I have to look. Okay. So there's two things up there by your circle. Your circle is gonna have your first initial to whatever your email is.
Now, so I can see. Okay. So I'm in my where it has my emails.
Actually, Spencer, are you able to share your screen with her?
Oh, that's a good question.
Why don't you try that? Why don't we share your screen, and could you pop up a Google Doc and show her how to do it step by step?
Yeah, let's see if I know.
I just know that's usually easier than me trying to say, well, go 3 over and click down 4.
How do I share the screen?
I thought it was, last I checked, it was in the right-hand corner. There was 3 dots.
Okay.
It says share screen.
Okay, so I have, is it where it says Docs?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me click on that. All right, it says Google Docs.
Yep, so you're going to Google Doc it. You're going to start your document. You want to type a title for it and save it, of course.
When you say I want to start my document, I'm going to click on blank.
Yes.
Yep. Yes.
Okay. All right, I did that. So
and then you want to title it, because that way everybody knows what it is when you're sharing it. So title it in some form of fashion.
So I title it just by hovering over it and then renaming it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and name it Doohickey 8. What? Week 8, isn't it? Or what is it? Project? I don't know what we're calling it now. Hold on. Let me look.
Lesson 8. Yeah, it's lesson 8.
Yeah, lesson 8 Doohickey. Then we all know where we're at.
I'm sorry, what did you say? Can you say that again?
Lesson 8 Doohickey.
Lesson 8 Doohickey.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Got it. All right.
So then that gets your doc done, but you haven't shared it with us. So then you're going to have to go and click on the document. Hold on, I'm going to pop up in my document right now, one of my docs. And you're going to hit right-hand corner. There's a share button. Do you see it?
Right-hand corner. Hold on.
There should be a big blue button that says share.
Yep.
You're going to type each one of our emails in there. And preferably type in your Gmail emails. It's usually easier to share it on because it's a Google Doc, of course. Share it to your Gmails, and then we should all get a link. And then send everyone an email after you've done it saying, hey, did you get the document? I've shared it.
Okay.
Let me know.
Cool.
Sounds good.
Thumbs up.
All right?
All right.
All right.
All right, guys. See you next week.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh, wait. Guess who we got to decide? Who's doing it next week then? With this new change up and the fact that he hasn't jumped in yet. What do we think?
What was that email that, did you guys read the email from Lydia? What week did she say she could do it?
Week. She's out next week as well. So the following week she should be available.
She said the 14th, I will leave June 21st.
Okay, so that's 2 weeks from today.
So we need someone for the 14th. I can't lead per se. I'm going to be driving to a tournament like 4 hours away. So I thought about next week, maybe I could video or have you guys call me in. And I'm not going to have enough internet service, I don't think. But I could definitely call on my phone.
Okay.
Yeah, I can do next week. That's fine.
Okay.
Cool.
And then I could take, now, if she's got the 21st, I could take the 28th for sure.
Okay.
So we've got the next couple weeks, but then he's going to need to do maybe a couple weeks in a row. I don't know. I don't know what his schedule's like.
Yeah.
But we may not even be able to count him in at all, to be honest. I'm not sure yet.
Yikes.
So next week, June 14th, I will do. The next week after that is June 21st. And who said they would do June 21st?
Lydia.
Lydia.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But let's make sure we confirm that with her next week since we're kind of guessing it from everyone's event. So we'll confirm with her. And then I could do the week after.
Her email states that she could do June 21st.
Okay. Well, let's just make sure we remind her that we made that decision next week. So
Yeah, I'm writing it down because I'm going to send an email out to everyone.
okay, perfect.
So, but I was just trying to pull up my calendar. I was just trying to get the rest of the time so that when I send this email out, so that's the 14th, the 21st. Who's doing the 28th?
I can do it, Christy.
Okay.
Hunter, you didn't write
At that point,
yeah, that's a good plan.
All right.
All right.
Sweet. So we'll see you all next week.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Bye.
Send this out.
Sounds good.